Coming to you live from the great state of Louisiana here in these great, crazy United States of America on this crazy planet spinning out of control in this crazy vast universe we know as life. How is everyone doing today? It is SimplySuperDave, and I'm here with another episode of Staying Super with SimplySuperDave, because every day is a struggle with all the stuff out there in front of us, especially if you're connected to the internet and all the information that it provides. There is life other ways. I know that might blow some people's minds, but yes, there is a life out there that is not connected to this kind of technology. But unfortunately, that is not my life. And neither is anybody's that's involved in this rat race that we're running right now. And it is a major rat race. I was just sitting here contemplating how I feel about elections and how important they have become, especially because of the internet and its mass media. So everybody's way more involved. You know, I said a long time ago, before the internet ever came around, that I wish people were more involved in politics. I almost regret that now, because it is a shit show. And what's the worst part is the bad storytelling and acting that's happening right before our very eyes. And it's more blatantly obvious now because fiction and truth have intertwined themselves so much to the point where you can't even believe something you see in a video. It's almost like if it doesn't happen right before your very eyes, then it's questionable. That's how crazy life has gotten, to where the news isn't trusted anymore, and that you will trust in a person with a microphone that just sounds confident enough about what they're talking about. It's amazing. It really is. But let's go back to the political point, because it is about elections. And the topic today is how this election coming up in 2024 in November is the most important election of my lifetime. And actually, I think anybody's lifetime at this point in U.S. history. Taken away from the early years, of course, that set the mark. But what's at stake right now on the United States presidential election and Congress and Senate and all that is not just about our country at this point. The whole world is watching. It is the biggest show in the world on any platform, anything, anywhere, okay? And here's the reason why. Because there's a lot of shit going on in the world, okay? Okay. Let's put in the situation that's going on leading up to our election. For one, and this snowball started at least a couple years ago when certain nations of the world came together to form a new currency through the BRICS system. The BRICS system consisted of Russia, China, Iran, and actually about almost 30 more countries, okay, including countries in Africa and just Saudi Arabia, big one. Just a lot of North Korea. A lot of different countries that have united under this currency and is challenging the American dollar as the top currency in the world, which everybody uses, and has slowly dissipated to the point where our inflation rate here is trying to make up for the deflation rate out there. The only thing that can solve this problem is a war. And now, it's been many decades since we've had a major war. I'm not talking about a conflict in a certain part of the world where people converge on, not even what's going on in the Ukraine, even though that was a kickoff point right there. That's kind of what's brought this to where we're at. Ever since that invasion, which was a reaction to NATO breaking an agreement with Russia. These are actual facts. Russia then proceeded to take back certain areas that they let go over the past decades, just as a spiteful, you're not doing what we agreed, then I'm going to do this back kind of thing. So when you look at it from an outside-the-box perspective, because we are a part of NATO, so obviously you would want to support NATO, but NATO is in this situation where they are incorrect. And so they broke an agreement. And thus is the reason why Ukraine was invaded by Russia and why we're in the situation that has created the bigger problem. Because once that started, Russia needed financing, and that's when the creation of that currency became a real thing, especially when China and Russia alone, much less any of these other countries, which just adds more power to their currency, was that kickoff point. So the invasion of the Ukraine will always be, in my mind so far, that that thing that happened that kicked off World War III. If things progress the way they're progressing, because if you haven't, and I don't know what platform you're on, I'm not going to suggest platforms. I use X, and I like the name now because he is Generation X, and he's fully representing what I like to see. If I had $1 billion, I couldn't imagine living that lifestyle of scrutiny and criticism, but to do the things he's doing, it's impressive. But, I don't know anything about the guy, so I can't say anything. But that platform has changed dramatically since it was Twitter. And I love the honesty. There is a lot of fact-checking on there. I like that. It just depends on who you follow and what information is going to be really pushed your way. I try to be open-minded to follow even various opinions I may not even be interested in. I'll just scroll past it. But every now and then they'll put something out there that does pull my interest in. That's how open-minded I am. So I try to get a lot of information through there, and you will find a lot of posts. Putin, I don't know their names from the other countries, but all the leaders have vastly pointed out that we're the problem. And the currency being toppled is something that since World War I and II, there's two so close together, but since those two world wars, we have been the dominant country on the planet. And it's not a very long time if you think about it. It's about less than 100 years. So that's just a century, and we've thousands of hundreds, billions of years this planet's been here. So speck of the sand, right? So, but the now is the most important thing, right? And so this election is the most important election because you have two different kind of candidates out there. You have a candidate that's pushing the very same system that we've been dealing with for the last 3 years and previous years before that under both parties that have pushed us to the point we are now, that have pushed our national debt to the point where they can't be repaid, that we have, the signs were so obvious. Government control through saving the housing system, the banking system, the auto manufacturing system, the food system. It's so corrupted to the point that even we can see it from within. But we are at the brink of an issue with the world that we don't have time to get our shit together. It's going to be a free fall when November gets here. And then the other candidate isn't even supposed to be there. Early predictions, even going back to Kurt Cobain, saying someone like a business CEO. I always said that's when I knew that our country was in trouble, the point that we get so desperate that we would, instead of having a political figure as a president, we would have a CEO of a company, because corporations have bought out our entire country. We're brainwashed as a corporation, even as people. It's really... I say all this from a woken state, okay? And I'm not talking about that woke BS. I don't care about political correctness. I don't believe in that. If you've listened to the podcast, you know where I stand on that. Don't believe in it. Who would want to be politically correct? It's the most vile, corrupted way of life possible. And if that's the correct way, I don't want to be correct. I never will be. And that's where I think the woke agenda has been born from, and that's a whole separate issue. That's something that we're dealing with within our country that I'm fine with dealing with, because that's cool. We'll move forward as a nation no matter what we decide, how we agree upon, and how we compromise and figure out solutions within our country. But as far as a country going to war, we have to be united on every front. And Donald Trump, and I can't believe I said his name, is the viable person that can put into things that we think that, like the issue in Ukraine. He says he can solve it overnight. I believe that because I've watched him do shit I've never thought anyone in the history of being presidents would ever fucking do. North Korea, crossing over, walking, shaking hands. I never thought I would ever see that. I thought I would die, and that's just the way things would always be. That's a permanent line in the sand. That's literally a line in the sand. And he pulled that off. And seeing how that the media has been narrated against him, and they did censor him, which is very anti-American. Everything goes against what I believe in as America, because that's what we were founded on, is the freedom of expression. When all that started happening, I can understand how easily most of America just was anti-him, because that's all you heard on the news nonstop. You never heard anything about what he did. You would actually have to look it up and read what's going on, because I was a very anti-Trump person, and I still am, actually. I'm not changing how I feel just because I see that he is the best option out of the two, even though he ain't supposed to be there. He's not a politician. He's from the inside as a financier, mostly Democratic. Jesse Jackson, who supported him in his presidential run in the 80s and 90s. Donald Trump. I mean, the man is, I'm sorry. It's just so funny, because I know what I know of these two men, Biden and Trump, over the past years. And if you had to ask me who was the more racist person, I would honestly say it was Joe Biden. Not to say that he was racist, but he is the most racist of the two. That makes sense, because everybody is a little racist because you are who you are, and you look at people who look different than you differently, and that's racist. But if you're racist, like you carry out actions of hate, I think there should be different ways of calling that. I don't know what you would, but anyway, Biden, to me, you can read stories about how he felt about, black people, for example. I mean, it's just, wow, he said that, wow. And he became president. That's amazing. But then, we all know what Trump grabbed him in the pussy, but I don't think he's definitely he's a pig. But as far as him being a president, did a pretty damn good job. You got to understand, if you go into running the country and the country is corrupted, you're going to have to figure out how to undo a lot of corrupted laws and regulations that were put in place. So you have to. I don't know. It's crazy, but the world hinges on a world war, because this BRICS nation, consisting of Russia and China and all them, they want this war. They need it. They need it to push the dollar down and to finally just take over and take our spot, basically. That's exactly what's happening, if you want to look at it like that. They're trying to take the top spot, okay? And they need another war for that to happen. And China has been warning their people for at least a couple years, ironically, to prepare for a nuclear war with America. That's a big fucking deal when that's not fake news or anything like that. You can look that up yourself. I don't know if you'll find it, but yeah. It's the same way I can't find any of the footage from COVID-19 from November of 2019, months before it outbroke into the rest of the world. It's just crazy how information can be suppressed within countries. Brazil trying to shut down X by demanding them to censor things. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of respect to tell a country to go fuck themselves, because they're on the, he believes that everybody should have that right. And all these other countries of controlling information it's just a crazy time to be living in. And this is the most important election. Even though I'm still not going to vote Republican nor Democrat. A little history run back on me. It was Obama's second term where I started voting third party, before I realized that I've watched this Democratic Party today has become what the Republicans I thought of 20 plus years ago. And I'm like, wow, I never thought I would be so anti-Democratic Party in my entire life as I am since, the Obama administration. And I voted for Obama the first time. As in the middle of it, when I realized everything that I believed in and that he said, was like, wow, this could be the next JFK. He could be really the next guy. And then he gets in there and he just conforms, and Donald Trump hasn't conformed, and that's what makes him special. All the other shit about him I hate, but he's in a unique position, like it or not, that he could actually keep things going the right way. I think we've all have suffered over the last 3 years from the way things were, because things weren't that great before Trump got elected. At the end of the Obama administration, I was looking at all kinds of fines just for not having things being mandated on me. And I'm very anti-mandates. I don't think anything should be forced upon you by government, ever. Taxation is theft. That's all I'm saying. Everybody's waking up to that one. You hear more people talk about that. I get taxed on this, and I get taxed on the money I make, and then I got to pay taxes. Wait a minute. I'm like, yeah, it's called tax to death. And, we fought for the independence of this very country because we didn't want to pay tax on a fucking tea. What does it take today to get anally raped by the corporate system before, living on the street? Come on, folks. We have the power, and third-party voting is the only way to do it. Unfortunately, this election has a lot hinging on it, so I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm hoping Trump wins this, just for the sake of things going the right way, because I'm sorry, but she is just not qualified. I've known her history since she was on Montel Williams' fucking arm as an escort. I mean, she just. I don't know how she got there. She's like an alcoholic and just a horrible actor. That's what I see. I do not see any leadership there whatsoever. I think she's a total puppet. She just does what she is told to do. She goes out there and she follows the game plan all the way. She's told to talk in this accent, she'll talk in this accent. She's told to go out there and do it like this, she'll go out there and do it like this. I feel pity for her, actually, because I feel like that she is above her head in a situation that I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how anybody can support continuing what we've already been through. And to hear someone say they're going to change things when they're actually in power to do it now, it's really ridiculous how weak our political system is right now. I mean, our president is sitting on no, wait a minute, he's back now, and he's just wandering around. He don't know where he's at, and they haven't taken it away and given it to her yet. And they have so many backup plans for if Trump gets elected in November anyway, to not allow him to become president. That's going to create a civil war. But this Democratic Party doesn't care about that. If they would have this is my whole point right here, and this is the reason why I have lost faith in this party. And I'm a big Democratic fan because JFK is my favorite president of all time. And I believe his assassination was a big turning point in American history. That's when everything changed. That's when corporations took over everything. Because for him, it wasn't about money. It was about the people. People can make money on their own. But when you chase money instead of doing what's right for people, then it's never going to turn out good. It does for a few. It does for the very few. And that's what's been happening in our country for way too long. Anyway, separate issue, separate subject. Back to the election. This election is between two people. And even if he does win, there's going to be shit that's possibly, I almost promise you, is going to happen if he doesn't get assassinated before then. We haven't even talked. I haven't done a podcast since that even happened, for goodness sakes. I don't know about you, but if I don't know if he would have been assassinated, I don't know if that would have worked in their favor or not. I really don't, because everybody would have known who did it or what motivated that to happen. Like I said, this is my whole reason why I've lost faith in the Democratic Party. Since Donald Trump became president of the United States, or was running seriously, whenever it changed over for him being a joke to, oh my God, this guy could win it, they have been after him, trying to sue him, take him to court, assassinate him, every fucking thing possible. They spent the whole 4 years he was in office trying to just, out of hate for him, not cooperate and make this nation better and do their jobs, listen to their constituents. Instead, and they'll tell you, well, they want us to get rid of... No, they want their fucking taxes to be lower. They want their houses not to be property taxed out to death after something they bought and paid for doesn't need to be threatened to be taken away because they didn't pay the taxes. Back to the tax issue again. And then that's because of the system being so corrupt. But anyway, I digress. Back to the point, they spent 4 years while he was in office to go after. And then when they got him out, you think, okay, cool, now we can get to work and take care of the country. No, they spent 4 years trying to get him censored. They did automatically. As soon as he lost the election, it's like they took him down off every place. It was the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen. I was like, yeah, that's wrong. What they're doing now is more wrong than anything that they claim that he has done. And it's just what happens when you thought you become the villain. You've been the good guy for so long, you become the villain. Very good example is the Democratic Party. From the Democratic Party that it was in JFK's days to what it is now, they ran off of Kennedy, for good God's sakes. They could have easily won this next election if they just would have nominated him from the very get-go, because they knew Biden wasn't going to make it another 4 years. We all knew this. This is not made up stuff. I'm not just speculating here or anything. I'm not giving my opinion. I'm telling you the actual fact. We knew this guy wasn't going to make it another 4 years. I'm surprised he made it this long, and he didn't make it. He didn't. The dude is just coasting at this point. He's on cruise control, and there's nobody behind the wheel. And then you're going to bring in an alcoholic. I don't know if she is, but based on the videos I've seen, she's very inebriated in a lot of them. Or she's just mentally just not all there. I don't know. I don't know what her problem is. She's not fit for this position. She's just, I don't know how she... what is it, DEI thing? Yeah, that's an example of a DEI gone wrong. I understand the whole point of that was to integrate and diversity, but if you just start taking people and they're not qualified, that's wrong. They have to at least be qualified. You can't force people, I don't know. She's scary, and because she just sounds like, I don't know. Everything she's saying, it sounds like something she's being told. I don't think it's her, And it's scary what she's being told because she's just repeating it. And she says it very confident, like, oh, just no. You're trying to make too many people happy. Someone's not going to be happy at the end of it. So, what happens if Trump wins the election and then somehow the Democrats find a way to keep him from becoming president? That's going to cause a big thing in our own country during a time where World War III could happen at the same time. It is the perfect storm for anybody waiting to topple the greatest country on the planet for the past 100 years. This ass-kicking has been coming for a very long time, and I am looking at all these variables from outside the boxes because, again, I'm not on either side. I don't care about Democrats or Republicans because I'm always going to vote from outside that because I understand that they're both lost. They're both lost parties. They both are. Trump's just fucking rich enough to where he didn't have to listen to any fucking body. And not everybody can be in that position. Not even Obama. I really had a lot of faith in that dude. Really disappointed in that 4 years watching everything go opposite. And life getting harder. That's how I really judge it. It's how hard my life becomes during the presidency. If it's easier, I'm like, wow, doing a good job. Gets harder, I'm like, what are you doing? And this country's falling apart, and people are struggling, and he's on a beach because he can't do anything. He deserves to be on that beach, but he didn't deserve to be president. It's not his fault either. I mean, that's what happened when you get to a certain age. No matter when that hits you, it hits you. It's nothing you can do about it. It's nobody's fault. But when that happens, it still needs to be taken care of. Business still needs to keep going. Things don't need to just come to a dying crawl because so-and-so can't do their job no more. You pop somebody else in. Everybody's replaceable, right? Oh, man. It's crazy. It is a crazy election. And I just urge you, if you're going to vote for one of the two major parties, then vote for the party that endorses freedom at this point, and that would be the Republican Party. Wow. Yeah, 20 years ago, it's weird I'm saying that. I'm still going to vote third party, and I really encourage everybody to vote. If everybody just listened to what I said and did what I said right now, everybody vote third party in November, period. I don't care which one you pick. Just don't vote for a Republican or a Democrat. If you did that, you would flip the whole the whole country on its head. And not only that, but you would have a lot of people in there willing to do the job right, that are not tied into their own clique, so they don't, you would actually get new ideas and new ways of taking care of things. Put me in there, I couldn't do shit because I don't understand how all that works. But there's people out there that do, and they have solutions, but they're withheld because this way works for a certain group of people. That's why the two parties both are fucked. Because once Trump gets done with this election, it's going to go back to a Republican, and they're going to take that power and they're going to fuck you over just like the Democrats took their power and they fucked you over. It's a trade-off switch. It just depends which team wants to win more. And we're caught in the middle. All right, folks. I hope in November you don't vote the way the TV tells you to, or the news tells you to, or anybody tells you to. I hope that you just, on a whim, believe in something and just vote that way. Follow your heart. And if you believe in freedom, for this election, And for what could happen afterwards, vote red. Challenge to see what they would do. Because right now, because he is in there, this is your last chance for 4 years of an independent president that you'll ever have. And maybe Kennedy switching over to the Republican side can endorse him to be the next candidate. And then I might switch back. I don't know, folks. They're just because they can't run it the way they want to, because they realize the power of Trump outweighs the Republican Party. They're just as bad as the Democrats. Don't let them fool you. They're just having to bite their fucking lip because they know who's the head dog in the yard. And once that dog leaves, then it's going to be back on. So hopefully we can do something in the next 4 years to put something there to at least keep one of these parties kind of close to the middle. Because that Democratic Party has tipped over to the left. They are upside down. I don't know what's going on with them. It's like watching a bad movie. It is horrible. It is really horrible. Pelosi, all of them, they're just, even on the Republicans, when you start looking at the senators and congressmen that have been there 30 plus years, it's just, you can see they're just flat out lying. They just don't care. Hopefully, I'll do another podcast. Let's see here. Like I said, it's September. We're in September. Almost close to 9/11. Never forget. And then, of course, October would be our last month before November. And then November 5th. November 5th is going to be very interesting, because it will be the most important election, because there is a lot riding on this election. Whether I like this, I don't like this. I do not like this. Like I said, it's like I want it to be a bad movie. I want it to be a movie because I don't want to see the outcome either fucking way. Because it's just not going to be an easy ride. There's no good times coming. You know what I'm saying? There is no good time. Things have gotten so bad for everybody at a certain level that there is no good times around the corner. There might be down the road, but we got a lot of work to do, and right now we're having to defend our American dollar, our power on this very planet as a country, the defender and the lone defender of freedom. Because, folks, if I haven't noticed one thing, or if I haven't noticed 100, I've noticed this since 2020. I've never seen the world be on the same page about a lot of shit. And that pandemic made me go, wait a minute, every country's doing this? When did this ever fucking happen? In the history of man, when did this ever fucking happen? Seriously, I mean, take away the issue and just look at every country is on board. Very few didn't buy into it, or they fell off early. But at first, everybody was, boom. And I think that was an initial kind of run. And since then, because you see things happening in other countries, and you're like, oh, this is in Germany. Oh, this is in England. Oh, well, this is... But it's all the same kind of things. Like, people get in trouble for saying this, or wearing this outside, or just being themselves. It's like really a lot of control issues out there. And I'm like, wow, we are that country where our shit is just people going off on each other because they're free to do whatever the fuck they want to do, and they run into each other and piss each other off. But over there, it's government. It's someone in power pushing down the small people. Here, it's all about the people. We're the last, and we're Jamaica, I think Jamaica and America was both established within the same time period, and they both were very independent, and they believed in freedom. So there you go. It's all up to us, us in Jamaica, man. It's all about the freedom, man, and that's what I believe in, man. When it comes to an issue, and like for instance, very anti-Trump, but I don't believe you should censor him, because I believe that everyone has a right to have free speech, and let the consequences happen from what they say. Should there be an allowed time? Sure. Like, I've always believed in an adult time, like a certain time at night throughout nighttime. Of course, the world works differently now, but so I believe the internet should be 18 plus. There should be an 18 plus internet and an 18 under internet. Everything should have an access. There should be a digital ID already out there for everybody so they can access and do different things and not be exposed to so much stuff that takes away the innocence of our children. Because, I see, like, young people, like, really getting into all this. And I'm like, oh, y'all shouldn't be worried about that. You should be out trying to, y'all can't even vote yet. Yeah. It's just crazy. So I really do believe this is the most important election in American history because it can affect world history. Literally, within the next year from that election, actually from now, the fallout from that election will be seen. And hopefully it will be, because I think the brink of war will happen regardless. It just depends whether or not it actually does. And I think that it's scary. In the best scenario, it's still scary. Worst scenario is what it is, war. Best scenario is almost war. Sigh of relief kind of thing. Like the Cuban Missile Crisis. That was a very good example of that. Everybody was holding their breath, and then it could be one of those kind of historic moments coming about. And it's really going to depend on who's in that office. And based on the track record I have seen, there's only one way to go. And by the end of this podcast, if you don't know who I'm talking about, then, well, you know. And I'm not scared to say his name. Donald Trump. And then we'll go from there. Maybe we can get somebody else, another outsider that understands the political world, that can get in there and just do the job right, which is not a very hard job. There's already rules in place. You just got to follow them. Stick to freedom. Stick to people first. Government second. Less government, more freedom. That's how it should work. Government's a necessary evil. You have to have it. It's how democracy works. But when it becomes so blatantly corrupted from within, just like George Washington warned, it could be our number one threat to our country. Not other countries, but our own. It's a very important election, folks. And for me, that's the reason why I feel the way I do. I know other people will bring up, well, when it comes to this and that, and I'm like, okay, I get that. There's certain laws that were put in place that makes you push this way or that way, or you're lifelong, this is what my tradition is. I get all that. Just forget all that. Just forget all that. This is really about freedom. It's about actual good versus evil. And evil will smile at you and be very friendly and charming as hell. Like I said, folks, a lot of truth out there wrapped up in lies. But you still have to dig through the lies to find out the truth. It means you have to eat all those lies. And then keep scrolling. Don't get stuck. Don't believe in one. Not until you find the truth. Not until you feel it. Until you know it. And then that's who you know you'll vote for in November. Like I said, I'm doing third party. I'm a small percentage. I'm trying to open that door no matter what. I don't know who I'm going to vote for, though. Kennedy dropped. So, if he's still on the ballot, I'll vote for him. Just to open that door for him in the next election. Because I think we need to have someone lined up. Because the Democrats obviously had plenty of opportunities to come up with a great candidate. Even if they would have ran Kamala instead of Biden right off the bat, I think she could have won that. But because they just blatantly don't listen to their own fucking people, They're just doing, I don't know. It's like watching a train wreck. It's just like nobody can stop it, even though they could just stop it, but nobody's going to do that. It's sad. It's so sad to watch that party fall and become a terror in our own country. I just can't believe it. The riots of 2020, you remember those? I mean, people calling out, yeah, break it up. I'm like, what? That's not, no. It's burning down our own city. Just no. Police, yes, we've been dealing with that for a long time. But to burn down a city, what's the point of that? It just makes no fucking sense. And to see it endorsed and just to tear us apart even more, those were some rough years. And it's been rough. And that was the only way they were going to, I don't know. I never thought I'd see the crazy shit that has happened over the past few years. I just, like, stores shutting down, people wearing masks. Like, wow, this is just insane. We've lived through a whole hell of a lot, and this is what's gonna make everybody just change, And it kind of worked, like a majority of the people on this planet listens to their government and does what they're asked and told. I don't, and I will if I agree. That's the great thing of being born an American and being so entitled to that fucking freedom of thinking and going, well, that sounds like a great plan, but what's the drawback? I always think there's a drawback to everything. I don't care how fucking good it sounds. I always feel like there's a string attached. There's always a fucking string attached. There's always a consequence. There's a opposite and equal reaction. I just want to know if it's a good one or it's one I can handle or if it's just not worth it. Sometimes something you want to do, you can't do. Because you just can't. It's not an option. No matter how I would love to, never work again. But I know tomorrow I will get up and go to work because I have no choice. It's not an option. Anyway, it's not about parties anymore, in my opinion. This election is a lot about keeping things from going off the road. Not saying we're getting lovely driving Miss Daisy here or anything, but we don't need to have a wreck. And we can't let it turn into a catastrophe for the rest of the world. Maybe it's time we had a CEO back in charge of our country, because if anybody's going to save our American dollar, it's going to be someone that's invested in it. Hope everyone has a great day and the rest of their September. And I may be back sometime in October. Until then, remember, there's only one thing, well, a couple of things, that conquers hate and fear in the world. And that's love and laughter. So go be a conqueror. Don't be a victim. Much love to everybody. And I'll see you on the flip side. SimplySuperDave out.